business with medical marijuana between the two countries right now if it was that bad and if it was that illegal to look at. They've done their research and it's been there and it's posted. If any of you want to look that up, they are now doing it and be able to do international business with one another. The only thing they will not allow is any recreational marijuana to pass through, but it's all medical that does have to be done. Two countries currently doing it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any others who wish to speak? Sir?
Tony Engelberg, 115 Cogshell, also known in Holly up until this point as a pot stirrer, and that is a nickname up until this point I've actually taken some pride in, but as you all know, I am completely against, I'm not at all against medical marijuana, but I am completely against the village of Holly and its 3 square miles, actually a little bit less than that, taking a step that no other municipality in our region is taking and deciding to go ahead and violate federal law by implementing one or several types of businesses that the guy in the White House, who I don't have a lot of nice things to say about, and his people have said very clearly that they are looking into rescinding the amendment that gave states protection from prosecution and from raids. There was something in the paper today that said the state of Michigan was exploring the idea of shutting down dispensaries very quickly. I think September 5th they were going to be looking to vote on that. Yep. I am with the people here that are asking you to just sit back and wait. If there's such a great need, and I have no doubt, I have several friends who have legitimate uses for medical marijuana. I don't begrudge them. I have actually driven a couple of them to dispensaries to help them get what they need. There's no harm, though, in waiting. When I went and did my research for Holly Township as a planning commissioner, I spoke personally to 30 card givers in the area, and a couple of them did lament to me that yes, in the wintertime it's a little bit of a problem, 20-minute, half-hour drive. But nobody I spoke to was not able to get the medication they needed under the current caregiver system. So again, there's very few times we can look and say we don't want something in our backyard. This is one of the times that we can, and we're not even necessarily having to say we don't want it, but it is okay to say we don't want it right now. We don't need to be the guinea pig. We don't need to be the headline, the next Commerce Township, or one of these other municipalities that have had raids. We don't need to be the next headlines for businesses that are shut down because dispensaries cut corners and got their medication, or got their plants, from unlicensed growers because it was cheaper to do it. We don't have the enforcement capabilities to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen in Holly. And I love our police department, but they don't deserve to be put through that kind of strain and that sort of additional stress while they are having to cut corners and staff themselves the way they are right now. So I urge you to wait. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
No.
More? Now? My name is Adrienne Grant. I represent a family that lives in the village of Holly and the surrounding areas with businesses. And they live here and they are interested in a medical marijuana grow house or a grow facility. First of all, Julie, I'm from California too, so we should get together. You forgot Israel. Israel has been a leading country in facilitating medical marijuana. You forgot San Francisco, hospitals in San Francisco that are using medical marijuana in the hospitals. Veterans Administration did in fact budget money in order to do studies on behalf of the veterans. There's a lot of things that I think everybody kind of forgot here. Safety, economics, youth, impact. I mean, unless the Village of Holly is planning on opening thousands of facilities, I really don't see where you're going to be taxed. If in fact you can control the amount you get, you'll be receiving funds. Oakland County has, trucks? Now they have storage facilities, they have trailers. It's been good to them. And they've been enforcing illegal grows now, which benefit the community. That's a good thing. As far as the hemp, that hemp that you're buying online is really used for ropes, building materials, and clothing. So you're not going to get the benefit from it because it does not have the THC or the CBD in it. This is a very tough issue. My numbers are showing that we're pretty equal across the board on people that want it and people that do not want it. Definitely nobody wants to feel that they're being imposed upon, whether you're an advocate or you're against it. But I do hope that the council considers the fact that you do have the option of whom you allow in this town. You do have the option of knowing that the people that are vetted through the state are being vetted so in a manner that they have to go through rigorous background and financial checks. And if it's a conglomerate of people, every single one of those individuals have to be vetted in the same. It's not just one entity. So you're looking for stand-up people in the community that are going to do this. And it's not necessarily about money-making. I know everybody thinks that, but it's going to cost millions of dollars in order to have these facilities up and running. This is money that this township will benefit in building permits. They'll be able to charge up to $5,000 per business per year. And if it doesn't work for any one facility, you do have the ability to take it back. There's so much power that you guys have. The hours, what you want as far as the blueprint, the green print. You have so much to say as far as how you're able to dictate these businesses. You have more right than a liquor license. You have more rights than restaurants that I believe you guys are picking up drunks every other night. I mean, it's unbelievable. And you have this amazing opportunity to bring a business into the small community, which is dying. Your downtown district needs to be revitalized. This is money that can help.
Oh.
Well, and it is what it is. You have the ability to make this work for you. And I mean, it can work, but it can work with the help of the people. It works with the township and exactly how many businesses and what type of businesses that you want here.
Time is great.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you. No? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Ryan Phillips, 3309 Hilltop Drive. I'm here to say that I support personal liberty and prosperity for the people. I think Holly has a big number of people living in poverty. I'd like to see more jobs come into the community. I don't use cannabis. I don't think it's a good idea, but I do think people should have the right to choose for themselves. It's not my opinion doesn't matter. We should let people choose how they want to treat their ailments or whatever problems they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? No one? Ms. Miller?
My name is Cheryl Tessens, and I reside at 119 North 4th Street. And I've been listening here tonight, and all I'm hearing is the medical marijuana. Nobody's denying anybody their right to be treated with marijuana. Marijuana has a lot of medical benefits, but what I'm hearing myself is the marijuana industry good for Holly? Is this something that we want to happen to our town? I don't want it here. There's dispensaries in Davison, and there's dispensaries in Grand Blanc. You can get it at the pharmacies. You can walk into Wild Bill's and get CBD oil. And we have caregivers that grow the stuff for the patients that need it. Let's leave it there. It's working. Why do we have to have the industry come here with dispensaries and all that stuff that comes with it? So please think good and hard. Please, before you make that decision. Is this a decision? Is this good for our village, for Holly?
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Edward Collins. I live at 2447 Hauser Road. I just want to address a couple things that I think are getting a little misconstrued. One of those things is the security issue. The state of Michigan has required that any, I'm for medical cannabis being allowed in this community in particular. This is a community that I grew up in. It's a community that has lots of people with lots of ailments. But that being said, security is basically, the state has said it has to be monitored. You have to have, every room in your facility has a camera. I mean, that's something that is required by the state. You know, and like the gentleman had said, we can basically require, as the council, you can require people to have security on site. I've heard a lot about how we don't want it in Holly, and it's not what Holly is for, but the Holly I know is for compassion. It's the Holly that I grew up in. It's the Holly that allows people, yeah, I am a caregiver. I can grow for 5 patients. I can heal 5 people. I've healed 5 people. I've saved people's lives. But I can only save 5 people's lives. You know how frustrating that is. I'm not saying I need to be the one with the license, but I am saying that you need to allow these places here, because if you don't, there are people that die every day. My father was cured from cancer. And I know this isn't a debate as to whether, you know, medical marijuana is good for you or not. It's a debate as to whether it's good for Holly. I think it is. I think you should be a community who cares about its people. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler Dirksey. I live at 3393 Harrington Drive. My mother spoke earlier about how she believes that you guys should allow medical marijuana dispensaries here in Holly, and I agree with her. I've been there when she's in pain. When she started taking the medical marijuana, I saw a greater, I guess, change. It was easy to see how much better she was when she started using that than when she was on the regular medication. But it's still difficult for her to get it every day. So there are days where she can't get her medication, and I can hear her in her room bawling because it hurts. I'd feel a lot better if I knew it was nearby for her to get. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No further public comment? I'm sorry, King. Please come forward.
I'm Dawn Russell, 512 East Maple Street. I own a business downtown. We have had numerous people come in and talk about what's happened in Thetford Township, Montrose, Clio, several different cities, and what's happened to their businesses. I'm absolutely not against medical marijuana, but I think we should do a moratorium and revisit this when there's more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else?
hear me?
Yes, sir.
My name is Joshua Kirby. I live at 203 Grand Street, Holly, Michigan. And tonight I've heard everyone that's wanted against it, and I'm personally against it because it's not really the smartest thing. We have people that said that it's better for them for people that are in pain for having it here closer to them. But if it's that bad of a problem, go get it. Like I said, like someone else said, that is in Grand Lake or Davisburg. Go get it from there. It's not that far. Drive faster. It's just a dumb idea. And just hopefully we can get rid of it and maybe go back to it again if we have more information about it, maybe. But thank you.
Well, thank you. It took some guts there, young man. Thank you for coming up. If there's no further, we'll limit it to once. What's it? Okay. Okay, then we won't. If there's no further, Mr. Cruikshank?
Well, I think,
Yeah, we'll limit it to one person.
oh, gotcha. Okay, so a couple letters to read. I've lived in Holly since 1978. I've raised my children here, and now my grandchildren are growing up here. I care very deeply about Holly's safety and its future. I could not, in good conscience, support any business in Holly that I felt would impose any kind of threat or to the well-being of the community. After much research, I feel that medical marijuana has health benefits to many people. I feel it's shameful that they must drive out of town to get their supplies, especially when many of them have difficulties with transportation, mobility, and pain. There are also benefits that will come from this as far as bringing more jobs and revenue to Holly. I hope everyone is able to put the stereotypes about marijuana behind them and keep an open mind and do what is right for our residents. Thank you very much. Susan Blatchford, 4206 Stonebridge in Holly. Just a second. Arthur Smith, 4041 Grange Hall Road. My position on medical marijuana is simple. It's a plant that saves lives. Now, for those that disagree with this statement and feel that it's a little extreme, let me explain how marijuana has saved my life. I'm a 28-year-old male who struggles with anxiety and depression. I used marijuana after trying pharmaceutical drugs that did nothing but make me feel worse and sometimes even suicidal. When I was 16 years old, I put a gun to my head and considered ending my life due to taking the antidepressant Zoloft. I've never felt suicidal until I was on Zoloft. I threw the pills away the next day and looked for an alternative medicine to help me be at ease to take the edge off. Marijuana takes the edge off for me and helps me sleep at night. Am I dependent on it? No. Do I need it every single day? Absolutely not. I treat marijuana as a medicine thanks to the state of Michigan and my rights in the current Michigan medical marijuana laws. Some people think that marijuana is a gateway drug and only the people who smoke it are criminals. I cannot speak for everyone, but I can say that I have a career, a roof over my head, and my family is well taken care of. I have never once thought about doing other drugs because I ingest a plant. The stigma that marijuana currently faces is based off of ignorance and propaganda. It's simple. Marijuana is not a drug. Marijuana is a plant, unlike opiates, which are also considered a plant. Marijuana has not been linked to a single overdose death, and there are millions of Americans that use marijuana every single day for one simple thing: relief. I'm asking the Village Council to consider allowing medical marijuana dispensaries in Holly. Allowing dispensaries will make it easier for medical marijuana patients to access their medicine. Marijuana is a plant that saves lives, and it's time to break the stigma associated with cannabis. This one is from Beth McReynolds. I don't have an address for somewhere. Beth McReynolds. I'm a 20-year resident of Holly. Oh, I'm sorry, here it is, 15197 Sealy Drive. And I've seen some ups and downs during that time. Recently, my husband picked up a card regarding medical marijuana licensing in December 2017 from a local party store with Mr. Cruikshank's contact info and other council person. The tagline, many people are for this idea. Come let us know where you stand. It is interesting to me as it appears that Mr. Cruikshank is speaking not for the entire village. In addition, the entire card was about showing support, not really open in my opinion to opposition. I find this advertising misleading and inappropriate. It appears it is pushing Mr. Cruikshank's agenda, and it begs to be questioned why. Why is Mr. Cruikshank so pro our little town being a trailblazer, pardon the pun, for this mandate? When our council has approved O'Reilly Auto Parts right next door to an AutoZone, and in a town that already had 2 auto parts stores, I was worried. But when council approved a Dollar Tree in town that already had a Family Dollar and a Dollar General, I knew Holly was not rising. And somehow, or some of the members of council really think that medical marijuana dispensaries are the way to go. But let medical marijuana, excuse me, I'm sorry, back up a second. The nearby towns of Fenton, Grand Blanc, and Nortonville all thrive with new restaurants, office developments, and a viable downtown, while Holly invites the same old, and let buildings lie dormant and become eyesores for years. But let medical marijuana dispensaries come to our town, and bingo, we want in. I don't believe this will bring the right element to our village, nor will it encourage additional more mainstream businesses move to Holly. We need more positive young couples-oriented businesses and activities. Let this email serve as my disappointment and voice against the ordinance. The dispensary should stay out of the village, and I believe council should not spend time and money to create ordinances that welcome them. This is from Taggart and Angel McLogan, 15053 Burroughs Drive. We are in favor of Holly having medical marijuana facilities. This is a long one. Dear Village Council members, I have received several requests urging me to speak at the council regarding the marijuana dispensary issue we are currently wrestling with. Admittedly, I find myself somewhat conflicted on whether or not to attend tonight's community forum, especially since I am not a resident of the village. However, as superintendent, I clearly have an interest in public policy given the potential impact to Holly students. For several reasons, I've decided to send an email and communicate with you in private rather than appear in the public forum. The issue before you is not, in my opinion, about legalization of marijuana. I think we can agree that marijuana is here to stay to one degree or another. I was surprised to learn that there are more than 580 dispensaries in Michigan, with most located in the high population density. The question for Holly is really about defining the standard you want for a small community in Holly. A town is where a medical marijuana dispensary would stand out like a sore thumb, unlike much larger communities with many businesses. I believe each of you has conducted your own research and knows far more about the issue of marijuana dispensaries than I do. So I'll spare you my politics and the money angle from outsiders looking to take advantage of community members. I would like to mention a couple of thoughts I picked up from my 36 years as an engineer. As adults, we are charged with setting an example for our children, and there is no greater responsibility. I've learned children of all ages are looking for guidance as to what is appropriate and inappropriate, especially when the adults in the world let them down. Children want and deserve protection from negative influences, and the silent majority of students usually speak up or report students who bring marijuana and other drugs to school for sale or use. At least this is my experience from 14 years as a high school principal. I've always believed that schools should be a safe zone or safe haven for students. In a similar way, I believe the village should be a safe zone for children as well. I'm worried about the conflicting and confusing messages children will take away from the approval of marijuana dispensaries in the village of Holly. The normalizing of marijuana, like alcohol, is confusing and dangerous and will have devastating consequences for a few individuals. I'm guessing the fallout won't be rampant, but there will be unintended consequences. I recently read about the negative impacts of marijuana in Colorado and the 133% increase in emergency room visits to an accidental child marijuana overdose in France. Why does Holly really have, or what does Holly really have to gain from joining the marijuana rush? I painfully remember the dozens of former students and athletes of mine who are now deceased due to drug or alcohol abuse. Legal or illegal, it doesn't matter what an individual can control drug use. In closing, the last couple of months, I've spoken with many school superintendents and building principals about marijuana issues, and I can't seem to find any school leaders who believe marijuana dispensary in their district is a good idea. I wonder why. In our hearts, I believe that we all know legalization of marijuana or any drug sends the wrong message to our children, and that such a decision will have a negative consequence. Please let Holly stand as an example for what we know to be right with other communities battle predictable consequences of medical marijuana dispensaries. Thanks for your consideration and good luck with your decision. David News, Superintendent of Holly Schools.
Public comment, sir?
John Bozar, 602 South Broad. Now everybody knows that medical marijuana is good for you. Everybody knows that Mr. Crochet is for it. Everybody in Holly. And as the gentleman said a while ago, you better think about re-election. which if we have anything to say about it, we know somebody won't be back on there. This isn't Israel. We don't care about Clio or none of them. This is Holly. Nobody said that medical marijuana is bad for you. If they can't get it, they can go a few doors down and get it. It's a little bit higher, but a lot of stuff that you get from your neighbors is better. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
We are here today to give our thoughts on medical marijuana and whether it should not or should allow components of it in our community. We need first to understand that we are not here to talk about stoners, potheads, or burnouts, nor are we here to discuss the finer points of rolling joint, saving the roaches, or what kind of bong to use. We are not talking about the antiquated, outdated, old-fashioned ideas from the 60s, 70s, 80s until present that pot will fry your brain and become another drug using statistic. We are not talking about just getting high to get high. Like it or not, support it or not, medical marijuana has a place in our society and our medical sciences fields. The Stanley brothers from Colorado had developed Charlotte Webb, named after the Charlotte Figge, who has epileptic seizures caused by Dravet syndrome. When nothing else worked, Charlotte's Webb did. It is low THC, which is the high part of marijuana. Studies show that this type of marijuana can help 1/3 of all epileptic seizures. There's a sidebar note for a link, and is administered in liquid form. Other parts of the marijuana plant can be used for edibles or oils to help cancer patients with issues related to radiation, chemotherapy, treatments, or military members with PTSD. The uses are growing every day, and the medical community is learning that in many ways it is less addictive and better on our brains and bodies than opiates. Google it. The reports are everywhere, even at the CDC. If Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Merck, or Eli Lilly showed up tomorrow morning wanted to opening a manufacturing plant that would add hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs for the people of Holly, add the money that the village accounts into the community, how many of you would say no? I would dare to guess not many of you. The 4 companies stated are 4 of the 5 drug companies in the U.S. that supply 2 of our state's top narcotic opiate distributors, CVS and Rite Aid, which all shop and we purchase drugs at. Yes, we all purchase drugs, even in an aspirin can to be overdosed on. The same companies will be on the forefront of the development of medical marijuana. Just like the Stanley brothers, there is no reason Holly cannot be as well. Instead of sitting on the sidelines waiting for some other town to reap the benefits of allowing medical marijuana, Holly Council needs to vote yes. If you're still worried about dispensaries and the stoners hanging out in the corner, then don't allow dispensaries, but don't vote no on the manufacturing or the other possibilities just because you're unsure or uninformed or plain afraid. If a strain of medical marijuana was developed in Holly that saves just one child from a lifetime of suffering or a cancer patient from being sick to their stomach after treatment, or stopped an American hero from having night terrors or dealing with the pain from an IED injury suffered fighting for our country, wouldn't you want that? I would. I would be proud to show that my village was on the cutting edge of letting medical marijuana succeed. Please let go of the old, embrace the possibilities, and bring it to Holly.
What was the name and address on that, David?
Hold on, I'm trying to get it.
4 minutes, right?
Chris Fleckenstein, 5631 Perryville Road. I'm reading these on the behalf of other patients.
Is that it there?
No, sorry. Jordan Gustin at 12304 North Holly Road. My name is Jordan and I recently moved to Holly from Milford. I was drawn to Holly for the up north feel while being still close enough to commute to work daily. Since the move, I have been dining at local restaurants and shopping at local stores to experience what Holly has to offer. After speaking with the locals, I was informed of the possibility of medical marijuana dispensaries coming to Holly with tax incentives. I heard the debate going on and thought it was an issue I would like to speak up on and do what I believe is right for the many marijuana patients throughout Holly that need an extra voice. I believe allowing medical marijuana dispensaries into Holly is the right thing to do for many reasons. The number one reason is to help the many patients who are fellow residents better access to their medicine. These patients are from all ages with many different diagnoses. The second reason is to bring money into the community and do with it what we can to maintain Holland. It will only be a missed opportunity if we vote no that will allow neighboring communities to benefit off of. I know we have residents who are worried about the image of having a dispensary in Holland, but there are many respectable communities who already are a step ahead. For example, Walled Lake, Ann Arbor, and Brighton already have dispensaries with the imagine it being a desirable place to live. Let's make Holly a place that cares about its patients instead of turning its back to them. Lastly, I would like to close that I am not a card holder, nor is anyone in my household. I am a concerned resident in Holly who believes standing up for what is right. Thank you for your time. Jordan. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Do you want to take a break, or is that what you're suggesting? Okay. I'd like to preface this by stating that I'm not a medical marijuana smoker. I do not have a medical marijuana card, nor do I plan to get one in the foreseeable future. What I am is an ordinary citizen that cares about choice and availability for those suffering from ailments that medical marijuana can alleviate. For years, I have marched, rallied, signed petitions in support of medical marijuana. In 2008, my efforts for those tens of thousands of others were brought to fruition. The state has recognized the medical benefits of marijuana and allowed its citizens to benefit from it. In December of this year, the state further amended its laws and practices to further legitimize its stance. The question today is whether or not Holly should opt in for allowing the different aspects of the system to exist here. In the subsequent weeks, I've read and heard many different points of view on the subject. Some are for it, others are against it, and others are unsure or mixed. Mainly, the points of dissent come from those worried about the possible negative effects on the community. A study done by the Denver Police Department in 2009 showed that robbery and burglary rates at dispensaries were much less than at liquor stores or banks. In fact, they were on par with pharmacies, by about 16.8%. This is to be expected since a dispensary is a different incarnation of a pharmacy. In 2011, a Regent University study noted a 37.5% reduction in disorderly conduct citations, an overall drop in robbery, larceny, and vandalism within 1,000 feet of dispensaries. Much of this is due to dispensaries having security, those presence expands out into the surrounding neighborhood. There is also an amendment to present law that goes into effect in December where smoking tobacco or drinking alcohol will be permitted on the premise of the marijuana businesses. So dispensaries have been shown to actually make their surrounding neighborhoods safer. Another point of contention is fear and the effects of businesses could have on children. One of the laws goes into effect in December, named House Bill 4209, grants the powers of the municipality oversight on aspects like packaging and advertising specifically so children cannot be targeted or influenced. Other protections are in place in dispensaries so that children cannot gain access and has security regulations within the law. Wild Bill's, our local tobacco outlet, has signs designating that no one under the age of 18 is allowed in the store. For dispensaries, a sign at their own personal security staff will ensure that children are not allowed in. Due diligence is all that is required in keeping children away from the products being offered to patients. I've also heard caution of allowing medical marijuana businesses because the federal ban is still in effect. While true, this is a non-point. I have not been able to find any incident of a federal agency shutting down a medical marijuana business in Michigan. Detroit closed down multiple dispensaries, and that was due to changes in local law. The only incidents I can find where the federal government did step in is in California, where the precedent was being used to crack down on illegal immigration. What the federal ban does do, in an oddly counterintuitive way, is make the real estate a booming industry. Fear of the federal government will come in seizing property has led to an astronomical increase in property value for land and property owners leasing the medical marijuana businesses. In addition, the concern is burdening the police department. To address this, I must explain the taxing system regards how it works. Every dispensary will have a 3% on gross sales. This money is to put into the medical marijuana excise fund. This is a fund that is only accessible to municipalities and a medical business exists. It does not get rolled over into the general tax fund. From this fund, 25% of the revenue is given directly to the municipality that has a medical marijuana business. 5% also goes to the county sheriff where the business exists, along with 5% to the state police. An additional 5% specifically to police training. All of this is to offset any potential burden placed on the police force, and it's all being paid by medical marijuana businesses themselves. It in no way will be a burden to our citizens. In the end, this is about choice. Do we as a community choose to help those among us gain access to medical they've been prescribed? I believe we should. Medical professionals have certified its benefits. Our state has accepted those benefits and allowed access for the people that need it. Now it is up for us to continue this direction it's heading towards and allow those both in or around our community access the care they need. These businesses are primed to set up, and the law has given our local government the tools it needs to only allow these in businesses on our terms. The quality of life, the financial increase only go further on the emphasis in allowing that choice to exist here. Thank you for your time. Michael Molnar, 404 Oakland Street.
What's the remaining books?
Huh?
Are they books?
No, not all.
That was a book.
That one was quite long. I will agree with that. Here's a short one.
Excuse me, if the patrons in the audience are allowed 4 minutes, it should be 4 minutes or less also for yes.
For each letter, call me at 4 minutes. Shannon, I'll stop. Okay. This is from Fuzz Heaton, 4261 Grange Hall, apartment 64. Just a vote of support, not just medical marijuana, but the legalization of marijuana. Good luck.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Vote of support. Jesse Torres from 708 Marianne Drive. To my fellow residents, let's make Holly a beacon of progress for the future in the fight off the fear of ignorance with facts. Tonight we are talking about expanding medical marijuana into Holly with 5 different facilities. If you're against the provisioning center, don't rule out something like a secure transport business or testing facility. These are businesses where members of the public won't even go to, and in no way would it cast an image of a pot town like some of you fear. Council also has the power to allow a permit to whoever and how many in each facility that they choose. There will not be 20 dispensaries in Holly as others have stated. This is a real chance for the village to help those in need of their medicine and break down the barriers of prohibition on marijuana. The village will not be running rampant with crime. See examples like Davison, which is much closer to Flint and has 3 dispensaries. I hope we can all come to our senses and make the right decision. And remember, there is such a thing as a vocal minority. Parents, students, workers, and many are afraid to speak out in support of marijuana for fear of prosecution or shame from fellow residents. This is why marijuana has most of its support at the ballot box, where I remind the community it has passed by nearly 70+% in the village and in every community surrounding as well. This was 10 years ago when we had even more accepting view of marijuana as a nation and even younger voting bloc. Vote with your heart today, and Holly will not only gain economic advantage in the area, but a moral one as well. Does anybody want to read the high letters so we're not tired of me hearing my voice?
I think we're going to drop this down.
I'm trying to find one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, there's only a paragraph. Dear Village Council members, this email is in addition to the letter of Village Council we've received from the Holly Area Youth Assistance. I was directed by the Higher Board of Directors on August 3rd at a meeting to let the Council know that the organization's positions on the licensing of medical marijuana facilities within the Village of Holly. Holly Area Youth Assistance position is not in favor of any licensing of any of the 5 kinds of businesses listed in the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act. Done.
Who was that there?
High.
Oh.
Let's bring that close. Ms. Dixon.
I was just going to come forward and ask if the letters could be submitted like the petitions were. I'm opposed. I wanted to know if the letters that were read could be submitted like the petitions were. And also that I am opposed.
Thank you. Well, we're going to bring close to this public hearing.
I made the motion to bring the public hearing to closure, and Mr. Rankin supported.
All in favor? Aye. At 8:30. let's take a 10-minute break.
Okay, I will make the motion that we enter back into our regular council meeting.
Support. All in favor? Aye. We'll move on to old business, of which we have none. On to new business, consideration of council action requested. We ended the public comment with the public hearing.
Well, we had to enter back into
Right, but now there's public
this.
comment for
So
the
now
meeting.
public comment.
Well, then we'll have public comment.
Read the
Thank you, Mr. Cullis.
members of the public.
Oh, members of the public can address council once recognized by the chair. Comments are limited to a maximum of 4 minutes. Council may extend this time by an additional 4 minutes by majority vote. Prior to addressing council, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. Mr. Cullis.
George Cullis, 601 East Maple Street. I apologize for that outburst.
No, thank you. Thank you.
I had comments that weren't related to the marijuana topic. Two of them, actually. My first one is the precedence that Mr. Cruikshank has created now with reading the letters in the open meeting. As a former councilman, we didn't used to allow that. But as Councilman Musgrave will remember, in the past, that letter was made available to all the council people. We sat while one was read, and it ended up having some additions and deletions, which ended up in a, I forget the word, what they call that, when you ended up in a sanction against that councilman because they had chose to either add pieces or leave them out. But if that's the new precedent where we're going to allow those, I don't have an issue there, but I think the public should know that if they don't want to stand up here, they can simply submit a letter. If they're not able to be here, they can simply submit a letter, pro or con, and then it will be read in that public forum. Because in the past, we didn't allow that. So if that's the way the council's gone, I think that's great. But those letters, I'm assuming by what the other gal said, will all be entered into the actual record. So that's good to know. The other concern that I had was the consent agenda item for the DDA appointment. Back in November, President Perkins, you and I were elected and elevated to these positions for our community. And we reached across the table and we've had several conversations and there's several things we agree on.
Absolutely.
We look forward to working together moving forward. Upon taking that office, I had come across a letter in the supervisor's office that was written by the previous supervisor right after the election of 2012, where he had asked to step down from the DDA board. And that letter was addressed to then President Dick Rozelle. Upon that letter, I contacted the president and I said, I think that the township supervisor should be on that board. And I told him I would be interested when an opening came to be able to fill that position. When an opening came, he contacted me. I gave him a letter for the formal side of it. It was read at a DDA meeting, and there was discussion about it. There was a motion, it was seconded, and a vote was taken. It was unanimous. And you yourself voted yes on that particular vote. My concern is that after a month, nothing happened.
Can we interrupt you for a minute?
Yep.
I don't know if you were here or not, but item number 5 was brought back to the business.
Yes, I'm aware of it. That's why I'm talking about it before it comes up. So, thank you. But my concern was the way that the process went on this was that at the next DDA board meeting, nothing had been done. The question was asked. And Mr. Perkins said that, or President Perkins said that he was the one that had the right to appoint whoever he chose to appoint. And he's absolutely right. It is in the charter to be done that way. The question that I had was why that wasn't brought up the first time around in that meeting, why you didn't inform that board that while they can make the recommendation if they'd like to, that it ultimately boils down to you. But where my concern came in the biggest part is, and I see tonight that it's Mr. Curtin that's up there, and I don't have any issues with Mr. Curtin. He's a man of character, and I think that that's you know, a good thing going forward. But my concern was when the board asked you about that, two things. You told them that you had yet to speak with me, that you'd be reaching out to me before Thursday. Unfortunately, that never happened. But the other part of it was that you said that I could still be part of the board, be part of the liaison as the township supervisor.